Hi crafters, Louise with you today. Welcome to another 12 by 12 layout share. This one is all about triangles. So I actually tend to lean more towards circles and rectangles, but I felt like I needed to again get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I'm still creating on black background, and I am honestly loving how this collection looks on that black background. So I hope that in watching my videos this month you might actually be inspired to pull out some black cardstock and go with a black background. So all I'm going to do here is create lots of triangles in different sizes, and I am not necessarily finicky about my triangles. As long as they sort of all resemble some kind of the same shape, I basically just roll with it. So in this case, you can see I fold my paper in half to get a point and then trim towards that point from the opposite corner. So that's essentially my very straightforward way of getting a triangle. Now, the biggest problem that I have is I like to kind of add elements once I sort of get things stuck down a little bit. So I really wanted these triangles to be stuck down, but not necessarily attached to each other, but not adhered to the background. So you can see that this is actually loose. I've kind of attached it together, but it's kind of still movable. And the reason for that is because I want to get under it and still add something onto that sort of black background. Now, while I am still considering how I'm going to finish this particular page, I decided to go ahead and add some embellishing just to get a bit of an idea of how this is going to come together. So, of course, I wanted to put my journaling on there. I've got the little butterfly and the little triangle cluster over to the right-hand side. So, definitely something a little bit different for me, and trying to work out the placement of these triangles was a bit of a challenge, but I think that I got there. So when I'm semi-happy with the placement, I want to go into a little bit of texture. So I'm just using ordinary old cheesecloth and pulling some of the strands and threads just to put something a little bit textural behind those triangles, and to break up that black a little bit too, because it can get quite a lot. So it's important to sort of balance that. And because these white enamel dots look so striking on the black background, I just love this. I think yeah, so much fun to actually create that little cluster on the right hand side. So I go with a little bit of doodling around the border as well. So again, just tying in the white of the cheesecloth, the white of the enamel dots, with the actual bright colours of this particular page. So essentially just adding texture in a few little different areas. I like to work in the sort of groups of three sometimes. In this case, you can see I've got 3 areas of cheesecloth in my main cluster and then 1 on its own. So it's still in the odd numbers. Even though I've got a total of 4 areas, it's not necessarily 4 because it's 3 altogether and then 1 on its own. I hope that makes sense. I'm pretty sure I'm just rambling along, but I hope that you're following along with what I'm saying. Once I'm happy with the cheesecloth, I am basically going to get everything adhered down. Actually, that's a lie, sorry. I decided that I'm going to pull out some white stamping, and this was going really well until I didn't stamp properly and made a big smudge, and then had to come up with some kind of way to cover that smudge up. So this is where the smudge comes in. Oops. But anyway, you live and learn. That's what happens. So I don't particularly hate it, but it doesn't quite look right. Now I'm going to adhere everything down. So a little bit of white in the background, sticking everything down, finishing off my border around the outside, and popping a few more of those little enamel dots on. So that's my second layout. I hope that you enjoyed that, and that you might have a try with either some black cardstock or some triangles on a layout. I do thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and of course, check out Kitaholic Kits.